Okay, there's this idea out there that emotions and traumas get stored in the body. Like they don't just go away if you wait long enough. They actually hang out and cause problems. Whether that's kind of recurring relational problems in your life or stress-related digestion issues or whatever. They cause problems. And well, this being America, we've got issues with emotions. It's like we don't know what to do with them. We're not allowed to feel and express them. And so we've got a lot of the problems that are caused by unexpressed emotions. Now, guys in general don't like talking about feelings. And it's because we were traumatized as children to be deathly afraid of our feelings. So it's an issue. Like, how do you deal with that? And one of the ways that is pushed a lot is something like therapy, where you go and you talk about your life and your feelings and what's going on, and eventually that culminates in some, emotional outpouring on your therapist's couch or something, where you finally let go of some feelings and you cry and, talk about your mom or your dad or whatever, wherever your trauma came from. Okay, so that's one way of kind of dealing with feelings. Well, I through my own kind of fumbling around and experimentation, happened upon a way of dealing with my own feelings that I feel really inspired to share, because it was just so amazing and unexpected and cool and resulted in such a night and day shift in my own just everyday life. And, I've had some experiences in my life where something cool happened and I just wanted to, tell everyone and just, force it on my friends and stuff like that. And that never worked. So instead, I want to put this kind of thing in my, YouTube videos and let people come to it that are interested in it. So this video will be probably a long one, but me talking about this series of experiences that led to this big emotional awakening for me, and why I think it's so great, and why I would want anybody I knew to be able to have access to it, because it's so great. Okay, now, how I came to this kind of general insight is a bit roundabout way. And I'm gonna start by talking about kids and parenting, okay? Because that's the lens through which I view a lot of this stuff. When I think about, my issues as an adult, I actually get a lot of clarity from looking at how my own children are developing and the types of challenges they're experiencing and the types of inputs we as adults are giving them. Because I see problems coming up in real time and I'm like, oh my God, I still have that problem. Like I see it in my kid and I'm still dealing with that. So, okay. There's something that happens with little kids that is really amazing. And most people see it as really awful. And that is the tantrum. Now, I'm not talking about a type of tantrum where it's a manipulation of sorts, where they're just trying to get what they want kind of thing. I'm more talking about a complete and total overflow of emotions that seems to possess the child and just completely take over their body, and they have this incredibly intense outlay of emotional energy, and they're just, thrashing or, hitting and crying, and they're just kind of, they're out of control. They are no longer in control. Now, most parents hate that, and they try and get this undesirable behavior to stop. And typically, they try and do that by, forcing them to stop, like trying to, shake them out of it, get their attention and be like, hey, what are you doing? What's going on? Like, you're fine, stop it. Or they try and shame them, saying, oh, you shouldn't be like that, or, oh, you're fine, or, how could you do that, in front of everyone, whatever it is. Or they try and distract them, try and bribe them, anything to make the tantrum stop. Now, I've got this amazing book at home. It's called Listen, and one of the authors is Patty Whiffler, and then there's another one I don't remember. But it talks about tantrums as a cry for help, a cry for connection from the child, where the child is doing this thing. They're, unconsciously, they're not consciously deciding to tantrum. What they're doing is trying to get back into connection with the parent, where they're feeling disconnected. They're feeling like, oh, I can't get to my parent. I'm not in touch with them. And that is an existential threat to a child, to feel like the parent is not in tune with them, not in tune with their needs. So a tantrum, even though it's kind of a negative thing, it still serves a function of bringing the parent back. It's like the parent's attention is then on the child. And like, oh, no, I'm completely paying attention to you. And the child will continue to tantrum until all of this pent-up emotional content is expressed. So they'll go until they've gotten it all out, assuming the parent does not interrupt it, okay? Now, I swear this will be relevant to what I'm talking about. Now, if you let that process play out completely naturally without your interference, if you just become a loving witness to a tantruming child, and you just hold the space with them and be there for them and listen to them the whole time. Don't interrupt them, don't try and logic them, don't fucking say anything, just be with them. They will eventually get it all out, and they'll, this is in my experience, they will come into your arms and just, they might have a little more crying in your arms, and then pretty soon they're just like, okay, and they kind of, their attention goes to something else, and they're back to normal. And they're like, oh yeah, I want some, I'm thirsty, or okay, let's go play, and they go back to being this kind of this baseline of amazing. Like it's you find out in those moments just after the tantrum, after a completed tantrum, that your child is just absolutely amazing and beautiful and so tender and loving. And in my experience, it's like one of the highlights of being a parent is experiencing that post-tantrum period where it's this little honeymoon period where they are without any sort of negative anything. It's just amazing. I'm kind of struggling to describe it, but it's beautiful. And I have come through this process, I've actually come to really love the tantrum process in a child. It's like, it's amazing because what they're doing is they are solving a problem for themselves. They're healing themselves. They had this issue where they were feeling disconnected and they had all this pent up emotions. They're, as a little kid, they're always being controlled and told no, and, they're suffering at the hands of this dictator dad that's trying to control them. And when that tantrum finally gets all of that emotional gunk out, then they feel amazing. And it's really terrific to see. Okay. So I learned about that whole process in the book Listen and got to experience it myself. It's really amazing. Now, I need to add a little side note here. Separately, I was exposed to this idea that a parent is, to the eyes of a child, a young child, effectively a god. We have all of the magical powers. We can make anything happen, and we're just, to a baby looking up at an adult, we are perfect and godlike, and they take it all in. And so whatever relationship a child has with their parents kind of sets the tone for the relationship that that child may have with the concept of the divine or God or whatever you want to call it in adulthood. If the relationship between that child and the adult was one that was controlling and judgmental and about, punishment and all this stuff, then they kind of come to expect that from God when they're older. Now, okay, I'm just going to put that little nugget to the side, and now I'm going to talk more kind of going back about some of my emotional journey, which I'm going to start with, I don't know, like 6 years ago-ish. I don't know exactly, but I was feeling this desire to open up and free up myself because I felt kind of blocked. I felt blocked physically in a way. Like at the time, I would have described it physically locked because I could not dance. Like it didn't work. The concept of dance and me were not friends, and there were times in my life where I had these I would say borderline traumatic experiences with dance, where it's just like, yeah, I fucking hate that. I don't ever want to do it again. It makes me feel awful. But at the same time, I wanted to dance, and people who were dancing looked like they were having a lot of fun. And man, it felt like I was missing out. So I started this whole journey of like trying to get myself to free up and dance. And that involved, trying to make the space safe, because I couldn't do it in public. I couldn't experiment with dance with people watching. It was just, I was so self-conscious. It was too hard. So I had to do these things like, get the house to myself, close all the blinds, turn off all the lights, put on headphones, maybe smoke a joint, and then I could start to loosen up a little bit, okay? So that was one area where I was kind of feeling this pull towards physical and what I later learned was emotional freedom. Okay, fast forward a little bit. My dad died, and that was just a massive earthquake in my emotional landscape. This is my first time really experiencing grief with a capital G, and holy shit, that was a ride. That was just so intense. I just had no idea what was coming, which then led into, or didn't lead into, but the next thing in the timeline shortly after that was I had my first kid. And that's its own emotional earthquake. And so all of these things were kind of stacking up, and I'm just getting a lot of, excuse me, a lot of change going on. And I ended up, let's see, how did this come about? Now, I saw some flyers around town that were advertising these various retreats. One of them being a retreat called Tending Male Fire. I've talked about it a little bit on the channel. And it was supposed to deal with, kind of male energy, anger, sadness, grief specifically, things like that. And well, I eventually signed up for it. I don't know, I just kind of felt called to do it. So I go to this retreat, and it's like 3 days or something out in the wilderness, and I didn't know it when I signed up for it, but it really was mostly about grief. Like that was really the point of this whole retreat, was to create a container for a bunch of men to feel safe enough to let grief out. And so there were a lot of different sharing exercises that we did to get people loosened up, get people connected. But the meat and potatoes of the event was this grief ceremony. And we took it really seriously. We made a container for, look, this is what's going to happen. This is how we're going to do it. There were these specific stations that we created. We all created them. We worked together to make these altars, and it was a whole setup. And the idea is that you could go to any of these altars to be able to, accomplish certain things. One of them was an altar for the ancestors, and you might go to this altar to, pray and ask for help. Whatever that meant to you, you could do that. There was another big one was the anger. I don't know, altar wasn't quite the right word, but we had an area for anger, and what it was is basically a tree and a big pile of these massive sticks that we all collected, kind of large diameter sticks that had fallen from trees. And there's a massive pile of sticks, hundreds of them. And what you could do was you would go up and you'd grab a stick and smash it against the tree as a way of getting the anger going. And once you kind of had your fill of smashing sticks against a tree, you could take as long as you want, do as many stick smashing as you needed. You do that until you were kind of spent a little bit, like, oh, you got all this anger out, and then you go to the grief shrine and just, well, it was kind of nuts in a way to see a group of like almost 50 men just going kind of crazy. You'd have of those 50, they'd all be spread out between the different, little areas, but you might have, 10 people all at once in front of the grief shrine just losing their shit and crying and screaming, and it's just coming out of them, and I found when I was there, it was great for me. It was great, but I saw people there that were going a hell of a lot farther than me, and I couldn't tell. It's like, okay, maybe they just had, more trauma kind of thing, more feelings to get out, or maybe I'm not quite letting enough of it out. I don't know. I couldn't tell. Anyway, let's see. So that was another big step. But while I was there, the person that was kind of running the show, facilitating a lot of these processes, turned out to be a men's coach. And I ended up working with him remotely then after that. We just have Zoom calls, and he became a mentor to help me through. I was having, relational problems with my wife, and I just having issues, feeling blocked up, not able to get work done. Just kind of basic stuff, not feeling connected and invested in my own life, and feeling kind of dull and mute and not very alive. So we started working together, and then those turned out to be fantastic. And all of this is to say I'm gradually getting more and more open to what's going on under the hood inside, okay? Okay, now, let's see. Boy, I wish I knew now how I got started on this next phase. It's kind of a continuation of what I was doing when I was trying to get myself to dance. So when I said like I had to make myself feel really safe for the dancing practice, if you will. Basically lots of privacy, close the blinds, do all the things to make myself feel like, okay, I can experiment here and no one can see me. Like that's what I needed. So I kind of kept that up, or at least got back into it then, post men's retreat, post men's coach. And here's what that kind of turned into. I still did a similar thing of creating a very safe space for myself. Total privacy was really what it came down to. But I was experimenting more with cannabis, and I was, say, increasing my dosage, and I was really kind of diving into it more like a psychedelic experience rather than, oh, I'm just trying to loosen up and have fun or something like that. And let me tell you, you might have an impression of cannabis, marijuana, weed, whatever. You might have an impression of it that is kind of casual. Like, one could do it and just kind of zone out, or just kind of giggle at a movie, or get the munchies and eat a lot, and that's all true. That's fine. But if one treats it like a true psychedelic drug and actually takes it seriously and sets an intention, like what am I actually trying to do here, and gives themselves total privacy to be able to make something happen, well, holy shit, something happens. And what I found was I would, set the whole scene, and now it has evolved by this point, and I have like at my disposal in the room with me, I've got some things that I can like hit or I don't know, just padding. I've kind of made it a sort of a, I don't know, emotional experimental playground, if you will. So I'd set the whole scene, and then I'd smoke, and then I'd do something like maybe use a blindfold or something, which really brings the experience to a real crazy place where you're going in to depths inside your psyche, which, in my experience. Now, I'll preface this by saying that I've had it really easy. I do not have capital T trauma, right? I just have the kind of like, I don't know, the background noise of American culture trauma. I don't have like violent trauma or something like that, okay? But when I did this process, and I smoke, and I got the blindfold on, and I put on some, psychedelic facilitation music, something that's specifically designed to send you on a journey. Holy shit, it sent me on a journey. And you can't actually accurately describe this kind of thing. It just has to be experienced to know what I'm talking about. But I'll try. Oh boy. It's not like I was getting strong visuals. It's just stuff you kind of end up just nebulously knowing. But it would send me on a journey where I was kind of brought face to face with very intense feelings, very intense emotions. And it was sort of like the floor dropping out from under you, and then you're in free fall. And you're remembering certain things, or you're just imagining certain things, but ultimately you end up feeling a lot of feelings. And the feelings are incredibly intense. It's like taking a dump truck load of repressed emotions and just letting the whole thing go all at once. It's not like a cutesy little cry with a little tear, It's like scream crying with the full capacity of me as a physical being. Like if you were making crying an Olympic sport, that's what it was. It was absolutely full volume, and I didn't feel like I was doing it kind of on purpose. It was just coming out. Like it was sort of like this is just a hold on tight kind of situation. And in the midst of all of this emotional outpouring, I'm also getting these incredible insights. It's sort of like you get high and go through something, you just end up getting these idea bombs hit you, and you're just like, oh my God, I understand, XYZ. I'm not going to go into too much detail on the insights of this time, but the kinds of things that when they hit you, it sends you for this additional ride. You're just like, oh my God, you mean like there was never anything wrong with me and it wasn't my fault, and it's just like, it just blows your mind. It really blows your mind. I'd get done with that session, and I'd be wrecked in a way, like just absolutely worn out, like laying on the floor and just be like, holy shit, what happened? And trying to process all of the ideas that came to me, all of the things that the sounds that came out of me, everything. And then I'd go, just like journaling, trying to write them all down and, hang on to all of this craziness that just happened. And then I would go through this kind of euphoric honeymoon period afterwards where I really just felt amazing. like truly amazing. It's hard to explain, like just so light and happy and content and just loving and, oh my God, just fantastic, right? Now, meanwhile, my wife is like, what the fuck is going on here? You know, because I would ask her to like give me the space to do that, right? And I didn't know really what I was doing. I didn't have a name for it. I hadn't heard anybody else talking about this kind of thing. Like, hey, do you get really high and scream cry for a couple of hours and then feel great? Because holy shit, I do. And so I didn't know what to call it. I started calling it an emotional exploration session. I don't know. I'm just figuring it out and I'm experimenting and I ended up doing it, there's half a dozen times or something, where I fell into a groove because I was experimenting each time. I didn't know, oh, what happens if I do this or if I try that, and just kind of see what happens. And I ended up kind of with a bit of a toolbox there of ways that I could elicit these emotions to come out. Dancing being one of them, hitting things being another, trying out, oh, what happens if I do something that's kind of like Tai Chi, or what happens if I pretend like I'm a warrior that's about to go to battle, or what happens if I, XYZ, what if I pretend that someone is in need and I have this big emotional outpouring to make something happen. I was just playing around and experimenting, and oh man, ultimately it worked. And I was getting a lot of things out that were clearly not, it's not like I was creating these emotions in the moment. It's like I was figuring out how to let things out of me that were already there. Now, I had, on one of these occasions, somewhere in the middle there of a half a dozen. I don't know. I didn't write down exactly, how many I had and when each one happened and all that. But I had one where when I started the journey, I knew pretty much right away, it's like, oh, this one's going to be heavy, really heavy. And it was grief for my dad that was coming out. And it just got heavier and heavier and harder throughout the session, to the point where the feelings that were trying to come out, again, it's really hard to describe this stuff. Words don't work. So what I say is not really that good of a representation of what happened. But I don't have any other alternative here, so words will have to do. It was getting difficult and scary. Really scary, as in I was like, I don't think I can let this out. I don't feel safe to let these feelings out, right? But I kind of felt like I should, or I still wanted to in some way. And so in the middle of the session, I texted my men's coach. I was like, hey, can we talk real quick? I kind of need some help here. And he's like, yeah, sure, call me up. And I talked to him. And I was like, look, I don't know. I feel like I need help to do this. I don't actually feel okay. Is it okay to do this? And long story short, he was basically like, yeah, you're fine. You're totally cool. You can keep going if you want. And you can also stop if you're not into it. But if you feel like you need help in this moment, and this is a really wonderful thing that he said to me. He said, if you feel like you need someone there with you, to hold you kind of thing, he said, you could ask your dad. My dead dad. And I heard that and I was like, huh, well, okay, I'll try it. By this point, I trusted him so much. He never led me astray. He always had amazing advice. And so in that moment, I was like, all right, it sounds kind of weird, buddy, but I'll try it. And so we got off the phone, and I'm still high. I'm still, tears everywhere. I'm still just in it, And I basically prayed, which is not my forte. I didn't grow up religious, and this is, not my strong suit. But I basically was praying to my dad, like, hey, Dad, I really need you right now. And would you hold me while I do this? And that authentic and vulnerable prayer just fucking wrecked me and sent me, it just sort of like catapulted me off of the edge of the cliff. And so then I just went falling, with this idea of my dad holding me, and just kept on going on this journey into this really scary place. And the scary thing about it, and it's hard to describe, like what the fear in that moment was like and about and all that, but it was essentially the fear of letting go. It was like I could sense that if I let go more, it was going to get out of my control, and instead not just be, you can be like conscious and crying, and you're still aware of what you're doing. You're still in control. Even if you're having a big cry, you're still like, the guy is still driving in here. And I could sense in that moment, it's like, oh, in order to do what I'm trying to do here, I actually have to completely cede control. It's like, if I am aware of what I'm doing, if I'm self-conscious about what I'm doing, if I'm worried about the amount of noise that I'm making, if somebody's gonna hear it and call the police or something, then it doesn't work. Like I'm still too much in control. I don't know why I knew that, but that's what I felt in that moment. It was like, oh boy, I think I actually have to actually let go of control. And it ended up being this oh man, I just couldn't worry about if I was gonna hurt myself or if somebody was gonna overhear me or anything. I had to actually just turn into this writhing, screaming maniac for a minute and get it out. And that's exactly what I did. I ended up actually letting go, and it was, I'm sure, I know actually, because I recorded it, I know that it was a scene that peaked in this moment where I basically had this full body contraction where it's sort of like the energy was going higher, and then I was just like, and then it snapped and I popped out of it. And then I was like on the other side. And then I knew, I was like, oh my God, I did it. I didn't even know what it was, but I did it. And I got through, and it was like, oh, I made it. I did it. and then it was complete euphoria and exultation and joy. And I was like hooting and hollering and just like, yeah, I did it. And it felt absolutely amazing. So I went from the absolute depths of grief and fear and just, whoa, like the scariest shit ever, to feeling like I just, won gold at the Olympics and was in absolute total victory. Talk about a fucking roller coaster. It was amazing. I know I'm overusing a lot of these superlatives. Okay. So that was one particular session, emotional exploration session. And I went on and did some others after that. But then, okay. After I got 6 or 8 of these things in the bank, if you will, I did one where I was really, kind of getting myself all prepped for another rough journey. It's like, all right, here we go. I'm going to do it again. This is, months later or whatever. And set the whole scene, did all my prep work again, kind of set my intention. I'm here to feel my feelings. I want to get them out, and I want to face my fear, do all this stuff. I'm like ready, ready for battle. And I do it, and I smoke, I get my music on and everything. And what came out of me was just like, actually, what I really feel like doing right now is just dancing and having fun. I felt like having fun. And the way I took that, I was like, I think I got enough of this just absolutely massive backlog of unexpressed feelings. I got enough of them out. I don't think I got all of them out, but I got enough of them out where then the thing that actually wanted to come out of me was like joy and play. And I actually just wanted to dance. I feel good. And so I felt like I turned a corner, that I actually got somewhere with it. So from then on, I've been having a lot of fun, actually. I feel fantastic. I have felt more inclined to dance and have fun and be playful and be free. Actually just feel like God, how do I put it? Even just in moments like this, like I'm recording a video, I feel like it just kind of can come out, and that's okay. And I'm less self-conscious, less just stuck. God, I do have to go back for a moment and just talk about the day after that really big one, where I was grieving for my dad. The day after that, I will never forget it. It was like a completely different life. I was different. Everything was good. like there wasn't a single thing wrong about anything in the universe. I was so fucking content. And just I remember I was sitting at the kitchen table and my wife was on the other side of it on her laptop, ignoring me, just doing something on her laptop. And I was so fucking happy to just be there near her. like she didn't even have to pay attention to me or look at me or anything. And I was just like, God, it's nice to be here next to you. I just love it. This is great, isn't it, honey? And she's like, what the fuck? There we went out for, it was like a Sunday outing. And I'm just walking around God, it's so beautiful today. Look at this. It's so good. And I just felt so good. It was comical. It was really comical. Fantastic. God, it was so distinct, so different, Anyway, after all of those happened, I still didn't really know what to call them. I didn't know what it was, and I desperately wanted to share it with people. I really wanted to share it with all of my friends. Oh my God, you guys have got to try this. Just holy shit, feel your feelings kind of thing. But it doesn't come out right. It's hard to describe it. I still don't know how to describe it, really. I'm still working on it. But I made a connection recently, just a week ago. I made a connection that really made it all click for me. And all of a sudden, I knew what the fuck I had been doing. I recognized, I get what I was doing in those sessions. I found it organically on my own. I kind of discovered it again because I realized what I was doing in effect in the physiological process that was happening there was the same as a tantrum. So a kid throws a tantrum and they get all of this emotional baggage out, and then they feel fantastic. They feel in connection. They feel tender and loving, and everything is good again. And that's exactly what I was doing. I was effectively throwing tantrums and letting out all of this emotional energy, all of the anger, all of the sadness. It was just kind of like blah. And then I felt fantastic. And Even in a toddler, they can have a lot of unexpressed feelings. Like once the tantrum gets going, it could last a while, you know? Well, just imagine then that, the amount of unfelt feelings, the feelings that you never felt safe to let go. Imagine those piling up for decades. It's a lot of shit. But I found a way that I was able to offload massive amounts of it in each of those sessions. Way more than you would ever be able to let out in a session with a therapist. You know, you've got like an hour or maybe 90 minutes to talk to a therapist. And you might cry in your session. Yeah, my mommy this, my daddy that, you know. But I'm telling you, it does not compare to this highly concentrated outpouring that constitutes what we call a tantrum, where you get out of control, like truly out of control, where you step out of the driver's seat, the conscious little chatterbox in here that tries to control everything, they gotta leave. And then you go absolutely nuts for a while, get a lot of it out, and then you feel fantastic. And you can do that process like repeatedly, weekly or monthly or whatever you want to do. You could do that, and you're just like dump truck load shoveling out all of this crud that has accumulated over the years. So once I realized, like, oh, that is exactly the same, thing that a tantrum is. And that, the tantrum being what I now see as this beautiful process. It's sort of like it's like an eject button, in a fighter jet. When things get too crazy, you hit the eject button and you're out of here, you're safe, then the parachute, goes and you land and you're happy again or something. I don't know, analogies are weird, but the tantrum, if you can get past the cultural baggage around the word tantrum and actually see it for what it is, it's a really beautiful, safety mechanism, self-healing mechanism that humans have, where it's like it's a pressure release valve or something. And it's not just for kids. And I would even argue there's no such thing as kids. There's just people, right? And things that are important for kids are actually important for adults too. They need connection, they need to be loved and accepted for who they are, they need to feel valued, all of these things. And when I see something now in, say, a book about children, about what's going on with children and helping parents, figure it out and stuff. Now I can look at that and be like, you know what, that probably applies to an adult too. So a tantrum, it's like, it's a damn near panacea. Like, it solves problems, okay? And when you start learning about emotions, what you learn is that they're kind of everything. They run your life. And if you have blocked off access to your emotions, then what you've done is you've just kneecapped yourself in effectively all areas of life. Whether it's your ability to access passion and purpose, or if it's your ability to connect with a romantic partner and accept them for who they are and not be, a judgmental shitwad all the time like I usually am, then, you have to get into this world of emotions. But men were so traumatized, especially about things like sadness, and in some ways about anger too. It's like sadness and anger, those ones are really sticky for guys, where there is this deep, deep fear of expressing sadness. Like, holy shit, there are men that would rather die, like literally rather die, than be caught publicly crying. You know, like we are terrified of crying. And I don't think we have good frameworks for dealing with that now. Like we've got all these wounded men that don't know how to cry, that would, rather say become an alcoholic and drink themselves to death than face their feelings, which is to say cry. Because it's not like facing their feelings means, being happy or something. The thing they need to face is like, oh, I feel, sadness and anger and shame and guilt and all this stuff. And I can't deal with it. It doesn't compute almost. It's like the fear imprinting around those feelings is so deep. You'll have people that actually genuinely believe that they're not carrying sadness, or they're not carrying anger around everywhere with them. It's kind of wild. Anyway, so I had that insight where I realized, oh my God, I just rediscovered a tantrum is all it was. I was hunting around trying to find this, and when I kind of started getting these emotions out, I just wanted more, because each one was amazing and left me feeling so good that I was just like, oh, keep going, keep experimenting, more, until it was sort of like, I think I kind of got through, I don't know, I can't say that I got through all of them. I'm sure that I didn't, but I definitely got past a certain threshold where then the things that were trying to come out weren't crying, which was very frequent for me. Like I frequently would feel the urge to cry, especially during times of like conflict. Like have an argument with my wife about something, and then all of a sudden I feel like I'm a little kid and I'm in trouble, and I kind of just want to cry. Like it was just like all the time. Anyway, I got past this bulk of emotions trying to come out. I got past them. And I feel like I've arrived. It's like, oh, so here we are. Boy, isn't this great? Like, wow, this is cool. Let's have fun. Let's do cool things. Let's connect. I feel much more open to people. I feel more interested in people. I feel less self-conscious. I feel like I want to have more fun. All sorts of great stuff. Like I really can't sell it more. Like I can't, I want to sell it the most. I feel like words right now aren't working for me. And in fact, okay, I will sell it a little more. In fact, I'm going to turn it up to 11 here as my closing thought. What are we at? We're almost at 50 minutes. Holy shit. You're still watching this thing? Okay. Remember when I said that to a young child, the parent is essentially God, and that relationship sets the tone for their relationship with the divine in adulthood? May or may not be totally true, but I believe it right now. It really makes sense for me. So, when a toddler throws a tantrum, the thing that it really does, like it kind of vents off all this pressurized emotion that needed to get out, and it brings them back into connection with the adult. Like a toddler won't tantrum alone by themselves. Like the whole point of the tantrum for them is to get back into connection with the adult. Like sort of like, it's like if you imagine, you and your kid are in space and you've got spacesuits on, but they don't have their own supply of oxygen. They've got a hose that goes into your oxygen supply, right? And when they feel disconnected from you, it's like they're got disconnected from the oxygen hose, and they start to panic. And they'll do anything to get your attention to be able to get you to plug back into them, and then they get the oxygen again, and they can like, okay, phew, now we're good. That's what it's like for a kid. They literally, well, not literally, but they're essentially afraid for their life. And so they need to do this tantrum to be able to get back into connection and get all these pressurized emotions to be blasted out, right? But going back, the kid thinks that the parent is God. And the tantrum puts them back into connection with their parent, aka puts them back into connection with their God. So, have you ever seen videos of people in churches where they go up to the front of the church and they're going all crazy and they go wild, and this is like them accepting Jesus into their heart, and they're speaking in tongues and they're just going nuts, and it's a legitimate religious experience for them. Like, they're not faking it. And I think that is doing the same thing that a tantrum does. I think that's like a kid coming back into connection with their parent, with their God. And it actually aligns with my experience. So in that session where I was grieving for my dad, that session actually, I believe that was to me, that was like a spiritual experience. It was so intense, and it was so, otherworldly. It was so massive. That was me experiencing directly a little bit of whatever you want to call it. This is kind of a touchy topic because everyone uses different language around it and has different feelings about it, but it's effectively the divine or God or the universe or Allah or whatever you want to call it. That was a direct experience there where I could have been a person at the front of the church speaking in tongues, doing all that to, have a religious experience. But they're doing the same thing as a tantrum. Because of that, the connection between the kid and the parent God thing, the tantrum brings you in connection, because it's like when you get rid of all of the emotional baggage that is weighing you down, then you feel in connection with with everything, with God, with universe, with whatever it is. You feel in connection with it, and that feels fucking good. Just like that day after that experience, I was just like, I feel amazing. So, holy shit. So not only did this process just, get a lot of emotions out and make me feel really light and fun and free, and like I felt like dancing and felt alive, felt connected to purpose and passion, all this stuff. Not only that, but wait, there's more. I felt connected to the divine by throwing a tantrum. Like, holy shit. It's absolutely wild. So now here I am kind of wondering, like, what the hell do I do with this? Like, this is valuable. This is good. This is needed in a big way. Like, we have so many people, so especially men, that are so wounded when it comes to emotions. They're so in need of help, and everyone around them knows it. Their wives know it, their parents know it, their kids know it. It's like, man, you need help. But we don't have a good way to help them. Therapy, kind of. But it's not perfect. For one thing, talking about feelings is not something a lot of guys want to do. And I think that's okay. Like, it's okay that they don't want to. Like, cool, not the path for you, right? Plus, I don't think even I could fully let go in my therapist. I don't have a therapist, but if I had a therapist, I don't think I could let go in their office the way I was able to let myself go in total privacy in my home. Which is, man, you gotta feel safe to let something like that out. Like, you gotta really feel safe. So, man, now all this stuff is like churning in my head. It's like, oh, how do I bring this to other people? How do I help other people experience this? Because, holy shit, this is really good. Do I need to somehow, I don't know, hold retreats where we help people throw a fucking 10 out of 10 tantrum and they get to experience it all themselves? Do I try and coach people remotely, where they do all the setup at home and I just kind of help guide them through it? Do I make, videos like this, just kind of showing the general process? Can I even safely, legally do this? I'm, just telling somebody hey, get really freaking high and then go crazy. You'll solve all your problems. That might not go over so well. I don't know. But I did know that I had to talk about it, so. Is there anything else I wanted to get out about this? I mean, there's actually a lot, but this is crazy. I'm just about to hit an hour. Have I ever done a walk and talk for an hour before? I don't think so. Anyway, it's a big one, and I think I really do think it's a genuinely valuable insight. This idea that the thing we call a tantrum, if you get rid of the baggage around the word, the thing that kids do to heal themselves that we call a tantrum is incredibly valuable. It's sort of like a gift that was given to humans. You know, like, hey, in case of emergency, do this, and it will heal you. That kind of thing. Here it is. And the crazy thing is, you don't have to do anything in a way. Like, yeah, you're gonna have to set the scene, you're gonna have to create a container for yourself or get some help to do it. And you might have to do something like I did where, smoke cannabis and utilize that helps. I didn't get into specifically why it helps, but it really helps. You might have to do all those steps, but the actual doing is something that your body does on autopilot. You just have to let go of the controls, and that's the hard part. That's the whole game, is letting go of the controls, feeling safe enough to let go, which is the entire point of therapy, by the way. You might spend, sessions after session after session talking with your therapist just to get to the point where you feel safe enough to let go and cry, finally. But that's all it is. Like, the talking isn't the healing. It's the emotional expression that actually heals you. And that's what the tantrum is. So, very much my guy mind just goes like, well, okay, if the whole fucking point of the therapy is to, weep and cry and rage and hit things and get the emotion out, then I'm going straight to the good stuff. I'm going to cut to the head of the line. And, so the point is to throw a tantrum. Like, if that is the model in my head, like, okay, just, learn from a kid, learn from a toddler. Oh, that's how you do it. I'm going to watch how you do it, and I'm going to try and do the same thing and see how it works for me. Now, I have not tried one of those sessions since I had the insight that it was essentially a tantrum. I haven't done it yet with that context, with that, a framework in mind. And I'm really curious to see, hey, when I do it again, if I try and emulate a toddler throwing an absolute bonkers tantrum, is it better? Is it worse? I don't know. I'm seriously curious. But at the same time, I know it's not going to be the same because I already did, I think, the bulk of of this kind of emotional work. Because still, even right now, I know if I go home and get high, I'm going to want to have fun. I'm going to want to dance. I'm going to want to do things that are fun. And that's great. That's fantastic. That's what I wanted. That's the goal. That's amazing. I just don't know. I'm going to have to try it out. And so I think that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to set myself up to try it again and to try and really try and play the part of a toddler throwing a tantrum and just see how that works. All right. Gosh, I feel my throat is starting to hurt. I've been talking so much. All right. I'm going to wrap it up there. I really want to dig into this topic. Like, I want to do more. I want to articulate my presentation, better. I want to do more because this is really cool. And the ways that I see people dealing with emotions out there, I don't think even come close to this. Like, I think it's really valuable. And there are a lot of different ways that people try and deal with this stuff. And I'm not saying they're bad. I'm not saying that, like, oh, look at me, this is so good, although I'm kind of saying that. I just think that it's valuable enough that I want to continue to develop it. I want to gain experience through other people. Like, I want other people to try it and give me feedback and all this stuff. And maybe that results in, a a YouTube channel about this topic, or retreats, or a book, or whatever. I don't know, but I think this is something that is really fucking good. So I'm gonna keep sharing about it. I hope you're ready. Okay, I'm out of here. I love you. This is amazing. Feelings, they're really cool, you know, you get them out. I was avoiding them without knowing that they were actually the path to what I wanted. And that's where I'm gonna leave that. All right, see ya, bye.